V8 Sleuth Podcast is back with you as we get ready. We are on the path this week to the RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed. Of course, the V8 Sleuth Podcast, powered this year by Parramatta Toyota, Sydney's Toyota dealer with a passion for performance and motorsport. A man with a passion for performance and motorsport is at the other end of the line. Mark Walker, hello and welcome to you. I haven't seen you for a few weeks. It's great to be with you. We've got a bit to chat about, my friend. We've got a big festival coming up.
Happy race week to you, Noons. It's been a while, hasn't it?
Oh, too long. Where do we start? This is actually now our annual Winton Festival of Speed get together. We are race week for this big event at Winton that is growing year on year. And when you look through the entry list this year, there's kind of a bit of something for everybody, which is kind of what motor racing events need to be.
Yeah, for sure, Noons. 11 categories, 68 sessions from Friday morning, private practice Thursday. It's expanded out to a 4-day meet. So it's becoming a major fixture up there at Winton Motor Raceway. And they've really refined the classes again this year. Like each year, they just keep adding to it and refining what they're doing. We've got legend touring cars. We've got Group A and C touring cars and the Heritage touring car banner, I guess. Then there's the historic touring cars with the Group Ns. So many different tin tops. Touring car tributes, like the replicas, they're really stepping out into their own. And that's becoming a real draw up there, which is something cool that this race meeting's pioneered, and it's really taken off.
Yeah, and this race meeting's really started to evolve away, hasn't it, from being an historic event, which is traditionally connected to older cars, to be more of a retro heritage flavored event with a very unashamed focus on tin tops, because at the end of the day, that is what works in Australian motorsport and has for so many years. So it's built its own identity, this RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed, and RaceFuels have got on board this year, which is fantastic. And there's a bunch of corporate partners that have seen the benefit and the value of what this event has become with the team that have put this together through the VHRR, through Ian Ross and Brett Florence and the entire organising committee. They see what they're doing here over the last few years. And we were at Winton last year for this event, and it took another step again with just what was there, who was there. There's just a little bit of everything. And it's not just all 70s or 80s. There's 90s, there's noughties. There's that kind of feeling of some more modern V8 supercars. If you're a historic person that loves a bit of older metal, that's there for you as well. If you like racing, and if you're a competitor, you can kind of choose if you want to race your car or, hey, I just want to turn some laps in a super sprint. They've catered pretty well for a wide group of cars, people, things. But I think we probably should start appropriately with touring car legends, Mark, because this is the super sprint category that's kind of the licorice all sorts. There's a bit of everything to wrap your mouth around here. John Bowe in a Ford Sierra at Winton is not a new thing, but John Bowe in a Murray Carter Sierra is a very new thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's great to see JB out there. He always gets a gig at these historic meets somehow. He was racing a Porsche at the Penrite 100 Phillip Island Classic earlier in the year, and he's out there in a Sierra, which is something, just looking at the interest that had drummed up on the V8 Sleuth website last week when we announced it. People are quite interested in that one, so that's cool to see. But like you said, with this class, it just brings all sorts. There's XV8 supercars, there's Group A cars, there's production cars. There's just a bit of everything out there, that classes that don't necessarily have something to race in these days, but it gets the cars out of the sheds. It's not a head-to-head race. It's fastest car at the front still, so you get a representation, and inadvertent races do break out in these things. I guess another little subclass that's going to get a really good gig out there is going to be the Oz cars. There's a good handful of them coming out of the woodworks, which is not something that you expect. But the Stock Car Australia movement has really been picking up a bit of momentum lately. And when the invite went out there for Oz cars to attend this year's event, they responded, and it's good to see so many of those cool cars out there.
Troy Perishon's one of those with that Bib Stillwell Falcon Oz car, the XF that we've seen Jimmy Richards run over the years around there, beautifully restored. It's in great nick. There's an ex-Jason Wiley Commodore there, kind of a forgotten Tassie racing export from the Thunderdome days that I'm keen to have a look at up there this weekend. Tabitha Ambrose in a Group A Jag XJS. So That's the car that Roland Dane used to own. He sold it via an online auction. I think it was earlier this year or last year. Um, so last year, Tabitha drove a Group C Tirana. So this year, a Group A Jag. So by the years, as the years go on, she'll eventually get to a more current V8 supercar at this rate, the way she's going.
It's a bit of a curious car too. That came out in New Zealand, didn't it?
Yeah, the all white car. Yeah, it ran the Nissan Mobile 500 races over there back in the day, and I'm pretty sure, I'm 99.9% sure, we never saw that car in period race on this side of the Tasman in Australia. So cool to see that one run at Winton, which of course is where Group A touring car racing kicked off in Australia. We'll see the production cars that we saw last year, the Sport Wagon that you featured so well in V8 Sleuth magazine in recent times, that will be there. The Laser TX3 that ran at the 12 hour in 91, that's back again with Rebecca Drummond. The list is really good here, and I'm kind of intrigued by some of the stuff here that I'm not sure what it is, but I'm keen to go and look at it when I get to the track this weekend. Kane Fitzgerald's going to run an AU Falcon V8 supercar. Rod Templeton's back to run that future tour that he's got, the James Brock Bianchi
Mhm.
Commodore that James drove in the V8 Sleuth Revival up at Bathurst a few years ago. Chad Parrish is running his Komatsu ex Kevin Waldock car. Steve Langley's a bit of a regular at this event now with his super cheap BA Falcon. Peter Aboud with his super cheap VE Commodore. Tony Elford's entered here to run too his HR31 Group A
Mm.
Nissan Skyline in this super sprint category rather than racing it in heritage touring cars, which for me completely underlines why these categories are part of this event and events like it. Not everyone wants to race their car. Some people just want to get it out and have a run, and the super sprint format probably opens it up to more cars than would otherwise be able to run if you were just saying, hey, look, this is a race event and you've got to race.
I guess another of the super sprints that we should look forward to is the Fitzy Cup. First running of the
Yeah.
Fitzy Cup, which has been designed to celebrate the life of Peter Fitzgerald, and it's drawn a fairly spicy little field there of different things from the Porsche marque. Christian Fitzgerald, his son, will be out there having a run in the car, the 996 that Fitzy ran in the Nations Cup back in the day, as a
Yeah.
precursor to the Carrera Cup coming on stream.
Yeah, and that was the warm up, wasn't it? So in '02, the Nations Cup GT3 Cup car was the forerunner to the Carrera Cup that began in '03. And I mean, you think of Fitzy, and there were quite a few very memorable cars and liveries, but the Falcon tires, that green and blue livery, which, Falcon is a pretty well known livery in various categories around the world. But, there was a period there where Fitzy had their support in the GTP days with the 911 RSCS, and then the move to the GT3 Club Sport that then led to the first of those Cup cars in Nations Cup. So I think what they've done with this event to honour a great of the Australian motorsport industry who had such a Porsche connection for so long, to run a super sprint event. It's another reason to get some cars out that otherwise these cars don't run. A lot of these, there's no racing category for them to run. They're not a sprint challenge car or a Carrera Cup car. They're cars that may have competed in Nations Cup back in the day, or in way back when in Carrera Cup, or way back when even in Porsche Cup, some of these
Mm.
sort of cars that are eligible. So this is a great thing. There's a few familiar names on the entry list as well, who are ex-Porsche Cup racers who've been around for a while. Perry Spiridis is one of those. Sven Burkhardt, we know so well from his time in the sport. And of course, he was the guy, part of the group that set up GT3 Cup Challenge that became the Sprint Challenge that we know today. He's got a Cup S that he's running. Andy Hall, who's an ex-Fitzy employee and pit crew member, who now runs a Cup car business with various cars. He's got the ex-VIP Pet Foods car that
Mm.
we saw Tony Quinn and Jim Richards drive at the Sandown 500 some years ago. So there's a nice blend of Porsches there for this super sprint. To dip the lid to Fitzy, and having Christian in the field as well is really, really cool. And I like the way that this event and other events like it are moving into the 90s and the noughties, because at the end of the day, we're 2026 now. A 2000 car is 26 years old. I mean, time flies, but you got to keep moving the window along with this. And I think there's a lot of people who'll say, yeah, I watched those Nations Cup races at the V8 rounds, and I saw Fitzy and Jim Richards and the Ferraris and John Bowe and all that sort of stuff. That it's not yesterday; it's actually motorsport history, and stuff that people would be really keen to go and have a look at.
But the same goes too for Winton Raceway. You think about it, it opened originally in 1961.
Yeah.
It's been around a very long time. You think, oh, the new extension. That was 1997. It's
It's
30
not
years
new
ago.
anymore. It's been there for half the track's existence.
It's crazy, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
you sort of,
Yeah.
you think, oh, well, it came on stream with the Touring Car Championship in 1985. That was actually a very long time ago, Nudes.
It's aging me. I don't know how it's aging you, but
I'm very old.
if you say you're old, that makes me old. So don't say that you're old, and I'll feel better about myself. You mentioned before the categories and the lists of cars, and we love to do this podcast to step through some of the stuff that you can see up at Winton for RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed. As you mentioned, it's a 4-day event now, but Thursday's sort of private practice. Friday to Sunday is the time frame that we would say that if you're going to be at the track is the time to go. But if you can't go as well, don't forget the coverage live streamed Saturday and Sunday. It's via Blendline TV this year. In years gone by, you could watch it through our YouTube, watch it through Blendline's YouTube across Saturday and Sunday. You won't miss a thing. All the categories will be covered. There'll be all sorts of action. And Daniel and his team at Blendline do an awesome job. So if you can't get to the track, this is your way to really connect with the event. But if you can get to the track, I mean, when you look at it, Mark, and you attend a lot of events and you know what things cost, ticket prices for this event, I think, are some of the best value for money. Yes, the VHRR is an advertising partner of us here at V8 Sleuth. We always declare that at the bottom of all the articles that we write about these events. But for a Saturday and Sunday adult pass, it's $50. I mean, and that gets you into the paddock, gets you in to have a look at the cars. It's pretty hard to beat.
And I tell you what, there's different ways you can attack. I'm sure I talked about this last year, but if you drive the back way, if you're on the eastern side of Melbourne, you can go up through the back of the Yarra Valley, up through Yea and Yark and up that way. And this time of the year, it is an absolute delight up there. And Bonnie Doon's starting to fill up with water as well.
Oh,
So
even better.
Lake Eildon's looking a little bit better than it used to. So you think of Winton, oh, it's so far away. It's not. It's pretty close, and great spectating there. You know, you can set up your little camp trackside, great sight lines the whole way around. That's something you sort of forget. You think of Queensland Raceway, oh, I can see everything. Same goes at Winton. There's a lot of really good places you can watch the racing, and it all happens in front of you.
I agree with you completely. And it's a longer, it's a track with variety that you can, if you want to stand at the straight, you can see the straight. If you want to see some twisty bits, you can stand there as well. The other thing is too that I think they've done well this year. The off-track side of the offering has grown. The on-track's great. The race cars and the super sprints and the displays. Shannon's Insurance are back to back the show cars that will feature off-track. And of course, as you know, you're a regular here. The Winton Motor Racing Museum has also got some interesting cars in it that come and go all the time. But this year, hot air ballooning, Mark, literally is part of the Winton Festival of Speed. This is literally a step up or a float up, as it were.
Except the problem is that they're launching from the skid pad and going away from the racetrack, which is...
I want to watch the cars. I want to watch the cars.
It'll happen very early in the morning, which is the typical hot air ballooning deal around that region, which is pretty cool. That'll be very spectacular, and the weather should be good for it on the weekend. The other thing too is Brown Brothers. They've gotten behind the trackside lounge. I don't know, Noons, if you've ever been at Brown Brothers, but it's probably about 25 minutes away from the track, and it is the place to go wine tasting. They make all of the wine there, and you can sit there at your little stool at the bar as you do your tastings, and you can try every wine in the world, and they're all amazing. And they're going to be there at Winton this weekend. So probably hot air balloon out of the track would probably be a decent idea, really, when you think about it.
Don't have to worry about driving. That's one way to do it. Don't know how you get back the next day, but that's a problem for future, Mark and Aaron, that's for sure. Official charity for the event this year is the Winton Fire Brigade CFA. So if you see them collecting there at the event, get behind them and throw a few coins their way and tap a card or two if you can as well. There's literally, I say it all the time, but there's something for everybody. But this event, one of the really standout features is the Group N historic touring cars. And again, there's a field made of over 40 cars spread across the over and under 2 litre categories. There's some big ticket stuff. Paul Stubber's entered in that Chevy Camaro that is sideways more often than it's in a straight line. There's some really significant cars. Jamie Tilley's entered in a Mustang. There's a really good lineup and a mixture, but the little cars at Winton really come to the fore, and that's where you see a lot of these guys decide to run at this event because it's the Group N event of events, really, for the year overall.
Yeah, the Group N cars do race at Winton throughout the year, but you normally don't get all the big bangers there. And
Yeah,
obviously, because we've got so many entries, we've split them along over and under 2 litre lines, which is almost a bit of a shame because it's cool when you see the minis taking it up to the Camaros and the bigger cars. But I think you're still going to get a bit of that because you've got guys out there like Peter McNiven and his RX2 Coupe. He's a good punter, and that's a
yeah.
car that suits that racetrack. But saying that, the Tilley brothers are there, and yeah, it's a deep field at the front. Don't discount the under 2 litre cars because the minis can absolutely stick it to the Cortinas and the Escorts. If you drive your car well, Winton is one of those tracks where it's not all about horsepower. So you see some really cool racing there. And along similar lines too, there's two fields of Group S historic sports cars, production sports cars from the similar era. And you see the little cars absolutely stick it to the bigger cars. And if you drive it well, set your car up well, you can have a good result at Winton.
You're also going to get to see something you don't normally see, Mark. Group N touring cars in shootouts, which is kind of cool at the end of Friday.
Terrifying. Yep, that'd be great. It'll be getting crisp. The engines will be making max horsepower, and all the guys will be under the pump there. So that'll set the grid for the weekend racing. Of course, one of the categories we haven't talked about, the Group C's and A's, the
Yeah.
heritage touring car. We love that class here at V8 Sleuth. It's our absolute bread and butter, and a fair few cool cars out of the workshop there. Terry Lawler, he's continuing his world tour of Australian motorsport with his ex-Dick Johnson Sierra. Debuted at the Phillip Island Classic, took it up to Morgan Park, and absolutely cleaned up there. So he's starting to get on top of that machine, and it'll be something to see this weekend.
Couple of interesting ones in the Group A and C Heritage Touring Car field, mate. There's Peter Shiveris, the Premier Racing team owner. He's back to run his Bob Jane T-Mart's Group A VK Commodore. In terms of Sierras, Chris Stillwell, who's this is a little bit of switch up from a NASCAR at Le Mans to a Sierra at Winton. I don't think that sentence has ever been said in the history of the world, but it has been now. He's behind the wheel of his B&H Sierra that he's had, but I think this is the debut race for it because he was intending on running it at Phillip Island earlier in the year, but it was a late-minute withdrawal. Jacob Curry's going to drive the Yellow Pages Mazda that Elliot Barber drove at this event last year.
And cleaned up.
Elliot was on fire last year. There is, though, a Godzilla in the field that never raced in Group A but led a Group A field. Is that puzzling or not?
Yeah, good one, Noons. You've done well there.
Do you like where I went with that?
You did well. Good work.
So Greg Boyle's going to drive the Falcon Tyres Nissan GTR. Now, that was a production car that raced in the Bathurst 12 Hour. However, the previous year at the Bathurst 1000 in 92, it was the safety car, or pace car, as it was called back then, for that year's race. So it led Group A. Yeah, you get it. No? It's
Yep.
too tenuous a stretch?
No, I'll give you that. Full marks.
Oh, nice. You're very kind.
Peter Jensen's old VC Commodore, or old Commodore from Group C, will be there with Milton Seraphis. That'll be cool. Lots of just great cars. You just love to see it all come out of the woodworks. Adrian Alesi has rebuilt.
Oh, that's good news, isn't it?
Walkinshaw.
Yeah, he had a big crash at Phillip Island, and that car didn't look very good last time we saw it in the back of the paddock there on Friday night. And super job by he and everyone involved to get that car back on track. That's the first Walkinshaw fuel-injected VL Commodore that ever raced in Australia.
And it's one of those cars, you think of the privateers back in the day, it was sort of towards the mid-pack sort of thing. That car's had a bit of a tickle up over the years, and Adrian drives it
He drives well.
absolutely perfectly. So
Yeah.
it was one of the early entries on the list. So it's great to see that they were able to rebuild that car for starters. Like it
Yeah.
didn't have to be parked up. It had the fuel tank hanging out of it. He backed into the fence at Lukey Heights, and they've done an awesome job to bring that back. Another one there, Aaron Hodges, with his Mustang, the ex Peter Clark car. That's a quick car too, and I think that'll be at home at Winton.
Yeah, and that was a car that returned to racing, wasn't it, at Phillip Island also earlier in the year, that that powder blue Mustang that not many people would remember that Mustang because everyone thinks Dick Johnson and the Parma Tube Mills car, and maybe Laurie Nelson's Capri Components car pops up there in people's memory bank. But that's one that Aaron Hodges is driving that Kevin Clark ran back in the day that has had a really long restoration period. So cool to see that one at Winton because from memory, I don't think that car raced at Winton back in the day at all. So there's all these cars that they take time, but they eventually make it to some of these tracks over the years. Trent Harrison's going to run again too in the GDV6 Alfa Romeo, the ex-Colin Bond car. So that's a bit of a regular. There's a bunch of regulars in ANC that are going to be there this weekend at Winton. Justin Nielsen's got the Nissan Exa Turbo up and running. Tony Sawford's a regular in the ex-Grice. Craven Mild A9X Tirana. There is a really nice list here of David Toe with that ex JPS BMW M3, Ian Ross's XD Falcon, Glenn Gerstel's ex Group C Commodore, the yellow and black Geisler car. Carl Muller's a bit of a regular with the Capri. So it's a really nice cross-section of ANC cars. Not a massive grid for Winton this year, but the quality's really quite good for 2026.
Yeah, some good things there. Mentioned the touring car tributes, good field of those guys. That's really coming on strong. And a lot of those cars look really good. I remember when we rolled up last year, you go through the paddock and go, oh, that car's back. It's like, no, that's a reproduction. It's a replica.
Yeah, there was a few that got caught out last year by some of them, how good they were. And one of them that I noted on this entry list, I'm pretty sure it's running touring car tributes, but Tony Hubbard has got entered his 74 Tirana, black and yellow. And I remember he running sports sedans in that car. And I think that restored car was it there last year or not? I can't remember if it was on the track or if it was on display.
Sports sedans had a run last year.
They did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, so that might be the opportunity for him to have a run in that car. But there's a nice blend of tributes to famous cars and not so famous cars that you haven't seen those liveries for a really long time. So that's touring car legends and production cars. Touring car tributes. So there's so many categories here. It's actually hard to keep up with after a while. But when you go back through it, I mean, Formula Ford is always strong from an historic point of view. Malcolm Osler's going to have a run in his Lola. There's a range of drivers in there. Andrew McInnes is always a bit of a gun when it comes to the historic Formula Ford. So there's a nice blend of 80s Van Diemen's, Lolas, Reynards. There's a Ren in there. There's an Image as well. Johnny Gregg's got his 89 Reynard to have another run. William Faulkner's a bit of a goer in an 89 Van Diemen. So there's a nice lineup of those. Group N we mentioned is booming as per usual. Group S is booming with two fields, the Bomber Squadron and the Mosquito Squadron, which I love for the smaller cars. It's a great way to... I think that's a more exciting way of splitting these fields than saying, under X litre and over X litre. It's nice when you can put a label on some of these things because they will be mosquitoes zipping around, nipping at the heels of the bigger cars. MGs, they got 34 cars for their field, and there's a combined Porsche 944 and BMW E30 field that has, at last count, 31. So there's plenty of racing to be done.
The German Cup there, Noons.
Yeah.
It is literally the German Cup.
It is. It's very much the German Cup. There's a bit of everything in there that a German car will win, just a question of which kind of car. Fitzy Cup, German car will win that too, funnily enough. And then Touring Car Legends, of course, contributes a super sprint. So it's a case of everyone enjoying their cars, turning some laps and having a good old shindig of a time. So that's what this event is all about. It's really growing and developed over the times. And when you look at the schedule for the next few days at the end of the week, first session Friday starts at 8:30 a.m. for practice. Last session of the day is at 5:05. Saturday kicks off at 8:30 with Formula Ford qualifying. Heritage Touring cars are going to race into sunset, 5:10 start. So that'll be pretty cool to hang around and have a look at. And then Sunday morning, Formula Ford race kicks off at 8:30. And the last race of the day is set to start for Group N for the under 2 leads at 4:20. They're big days. There's plenty of on-track action. There's plenty going on off the track as well. You'll probably need all 3 days, Mark, to get around everything to know what's going on, let alone try to go on a balloon ride and some wine tasting and all the other things that are there to be done.
And don't forget Sideshow Alley as well, with the little bookshops there.
I love it. Yep, it's dangerous.
It's going to be
I'm just back from a trip. I'm just back from a trip overseas. I'm poor. I have no money. But if there's a bargain or two to be had, it would be wrong to leave it there, wouldn't it?
it would be very rude not to buy books at the racetrack if you've got the chance.
I think it takes one to know one, doesn't it? The other thing too, we should point out, for 17 years and under, they're free when accompanied by a paying adult. So if you're thinking about taking the youngsters along to enjoy a bit of motor racing for the day, that's good news. For concessions, it's $5 discount off each ticket for pensioners, health and student cards only. But when you look at it, for 2 adults, you can get 3 days there for $100. That's pretty good value. Single day passes, $30 for an adult, $50 for 2 adults, and $15 for Friday. So I think they've done a really nice job of pricing this in a really good spot for getting as many people as possible to come along and enjoy RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed for 2026. Is there a particular go-to car that you're looking forward to go and have an up-close look at, mate, that you've seen on the entry list that you might have thought, I haven't seen that before, I must go and suss that out?
Way to put me on the spot, Noons.
Sorry.
Uh, as a bit of a stock car tragic, I'd have to say some of the Oz cars.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Kane Naviganda.
Yep. Yep. I want to go and have a look. I'll get you off the hook here. And you can just say, yes, me too. Brad Lighton's VS Oscar Commodore, which is the ex Jason Wiley car. I want to go and I want to sleuth that. I want to know more where it's been, what it's done, what it did in period, because he was a bit of a gun on the dome there in its latter days in Oscar racing. And we only saw him once, Jason Wiley, in a V8 supercar at Sandown one year with Dougal McDougall in a bit of a one-off. So he was kind of a guy that we never saw go on with the road racing stuff, and he might have been a guy that who knows what he could have been had the funding and the opportunities been there. But keen to go and have a look at that car.
Well, another one, throw a left field one actually. Greg Lovett with his Porsche 993 GT2. It's one in Repsol colours. It looks mean.
I saw a photo of this while I was away. What's the story with that? Is that an overseas car?
Yeah, there's
Cool.
a few cool bits out of the woodworks there, and there's a 968 Turbo RS. Remember, they were before the 911s really sort of took over the main sort of circuit racing duties in Australia. So that'll be a car worth seeing. Green blue. That sounds very Falcony, doesn't it?
Very Fitzy Falcony. Front
Mm.
engine. Of course, the 968 Club Sports were the production cars around the 12-hour, but didn't they take one of those and soup it up and gave it plenty more oomph, and
Mm.
I'm not sure if that's the one in the same car, but that's the cool stuff about this, because you look at the entry list and go, "Oh, I'm interested in that. Oh, I wonder what that is." And of course, you get to spend your days wandering around the paddock at Winton, and everybody at these events is this is not a professional motor racing event. There's no one's going to get a contract with Toto Wolff next week for however they go. So the access to cars, to the garages, if you've got kids, there's so many competitors who, if they've got time between races, more than happy for you to have a look at their cars, sit your kids in the passenger seat and take a photo. That's the beauty of these events, because they remind you about the reasons why you love car racing. And a lot of times it gets compared to supercars and the pro events, but they're professional motor racing. People's livelihoods are on the line. Like, there's kind of areas that you can and can't go to. But with these events, pretty much there's nothing really off limits. And the opportunity to have a good up close look at some of these cars, talk to the owners, talk to the drivers, that's just as much the appeal of these events as it is watching cars go around the track.
Oh, speak for yourself, Noons. I was hoping that Toto Wolff would offer me a contract for great content, just banging out great content for V8 Sleuth.
Does he know what good content looks like, or is he just too busy watching race cars go around?
I'm sure his secretary will be on the list. So.
Yeah. I'll come up with another phrase for next time that we have that sort of a situation. But it's going to be a big event. It's going to be a big weekend. I'm looking forward to getting back up there to Winton. And of course, because there's not a supercar around at Winton, there's very little supercar testing happening at Winton in terms of the lack of test days. Don't start me on that. This is the opportunity to really get up there to Winton and enjoy the weekend. Yes, there's a lot of other events on there during the year, but for me, this is the one that is a must to have on the calendar to make sure you go and have a look at. If you've not been to it before, love you to go along and give us your impressions in the aftermath. If you see us at the track, Mark's got the camera. He's snapping away for a few days up there. I'm wandering around looking at chassis numbers and whatever else there is to be done, which is going to be a whole pile of fun. We'd love to hear your feedback to know what you enjoy about this event, because I've got a feeling that most people will enjoy the same sorts of things that we do about this one. So it's going to be a ripping weekend. Have you checked the weather forecast, though, dear sir? How are we looking for weather?
It's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Just long johns. I'm going to wear shorts and long johns.
You've got it covered. You've got it covered. Camping? Can you camp at this event?
Absolutely. 700 campsites over in the camp ground there. I stayed over there last year. Bit fresh in the mornings, but they got good hot showers there that are absolutely going to be pumping. And a lot of people do go camping. It's very accessible and very convenient. You could go for a half-hour drive up to Wangaratta, or you can take the 10-second drive from the campground, which a lot of people like to do.
Yeah, it's a ripping event. If you haven't been, hopefully you can come along and have a look at it. If you can't get there, as I mentioned at the start of the show, Blendline's coverage is on YouTube. I think it kicks off around lunchtime Saturday, runs right through, and then all day Sunday. So I was going to say check your local guides, but we don't really do that in the world anymore, do we? We just tune in and find it wherever we find it. But the place to find it is on YouTube. If you're keen to have a look at last year's event before you go, it is archived on our YouTube page on V8 Sleuth. So just type in Winton Festival of Speed and you can check out the action from last year just to get you in the mood, a little bit of a taste tester and a scene setter for 2026. That's definitely the way to approach this year's RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed. I think we're done for our preview. I think we've previewed well. There's been a lot of previewing going on here.
Sounds good, Noon. So I'm looking forward to seeing actual cars go around the racetrack.
Enough of us chatting. It's one thing to chat about. It's another thing to go and enjoy it. We will do that. Private practice Thursday. Friday is practice qualifying racing and then the shootouts for Group N cars and then 2 big days of racing across Saturday and Sunday. Don't forget to here on the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota. If you haven't caught up with our recent chats with Steve Richards and Mark Scaife, do so. There's some absolutely cracking stories in a mugget. Don't forget the undercut as well. Jack Perkins is back on the next show. We've got so much to unpack from the world of supercars and motorsport on our online show, but you can also listen to the podcast version of it here on the feed that you're listening to right now. So in the meantime, we'll catch you at the RaceFuels Winton Festival of Speed. We'll see you next time here on the V8 Sleuth podcast powered by Parramatta Toyota.